Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
Hi, I'm Terry Naturally. Got pain? Are your muscles aching and crying out for relief? Would you like a safe product without side effects to stop your pain? Curamin is your answer. Curamin is an award-winning formula that relieves pain safely and naturally. Live pain-free and enjoy doing the things you love. Feel the amazing difference with Curamin and make each day a pain-free day. It'll stop your pain or your money back.
Available locally at Healthy Times Market in Vernon. The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Hardware, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Hi, I'm Shannon Sweeney. I've been a player or coach for most of my life, and I understand the need to keep our kids motivated and safe. As a parent and coach, I also understand the need to make sure our children are protected. That's why insurance is as an important part of the game as a good coach is. I've known my fellow coach, Wayne Dietz, for 10 years. I've seen him motivate and inspire players both on and off the floor. I've also seen him make sure that our children are safe by making sure that the teams are properly insured. As a coach, we don't often think about insurance, and when you work with Wayne and his team at D&H Risk Solutions, you won't have to. They take care of everything with honesty and integrity so that you can focus on what you do best, coaching your team to victory.
Good evening and welcome to Vernon Vibes. As always, this is part of the job that I really enjoy because it gives me the opportunity to have a conversation with you. And before we get into the topics and issues that I'd like to share with you, I would like to remind you that this Saturday evening, that being March 28th, the Dogs of Vernon beefsteak is being held at the Highland Lakes Fire Company. You'll remember in the last edition that I spoke to it. The turnout at this point in time, frankly, has been very, very positive. I spoke with the president of the Dogs of Vernon, who told me the day before yesterday that some 120 tickets have been sold, and that's just phenomenal. And so I really more or less want to thank you for the support, because the Dogs of Vernon is a group that we're all proud of in our community. They're citizens who saw a need and in fact brought forth a dog park for Vernon at virtually no cost to the taxpayers. And so my kudos to them, and to those of you who have tickets, I'll look forward to seeing you Saturday evening at the Highland Lakes Fire Company, that being March 28th. It's going to be a great time. Also, I'd like to give you a little heads up that we're coming to the time of the year when Vernon's Earth Fest will be on the docket. And you'll be seeing signs up around town shortly. I'll have more information specifically on the date, the time, the places, as always, Heaven Hill Farms, in my next edition of Vernon Vibes. But I just wanted to let you know, keep your eyes and your ears open, because it's a great time, it's a great family day, and one of the highlights of Vernon's calendar. I'll be back in just a minute.
Hi, I'm Terry Naturally. Got pain? Are your muscles aching and crying out for relief? Would you like a safe product without side effects to stop your pain? Curamin is your answer. Curamin is an award-winning formula that relieves pain safely and naturally. Live pain-free and enjoy doing the things you love. Feel the amazing difference with Curamin and make each day a pain-free day. It'll stop your pain or your money back.
Available locally at Healthy Times Market in Vernon. The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Hardware, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Welcome back. As I said in the opening, I'm always happy to be with you, and this evening I'd like to share with you what I believe is an honor for our community. As many of you may know, there is an organization called the New Jersey League of Municipalities, and it is an organization that represents every town, every city, every county in New Jersey in its effort to communicate with and, in fact, impact on legislation in the state of New Jersey. The League has been in existence 100 years, and this is their 100th anniversary. And this evening I want to tell you about a particular honor for us here in Vernon, because you see, every month the League of Municipalities publishes their magazine. And this magazine is designed to share ideas and best practices, and as well as things that are happening around the state that might very well be of interest to other communities. And of course, all of us, at least I and the people here in Vernon on the town council, do read it, look at it. This month's edition, that being March of 2015, includes an article, frankly, that I was honored to be asked to provide for the League of Municipalities. And it's entitled, "A Merit Awards Program Jumpstarts Leadership." This particular article details the creation of bonuses for our non-union people. You'll remember that there was a controversy made about it by some of the residents, and it actually went to court where the judge indicated that in fact bonuses were legal. But this article doesn't focus on that aspect. It focuses on the result of using that management approach to bring forth the kind of effort that the department heads here in Vernon Township have delivered on your behalf. You've heard me time after time speaking about how proud I am of my department heads and the division heads who work here. And that goes to the fact that we have now, for 4 straight years, through the efforts of those leaders, those department leaders, and their employees, delivered to you, the people of Vernon Township, a budget that does not raise your property taxes for local purposes. And those of you who watch me, I'm sure, say, you know, Vic, again? Yes, again. And let me share with you why. I started out my career working in marketing and sales for Hoffman LaRoche, the Roche Laboratories division. And one of the things that we were taught, and I then came to learn, that in this world, people don't even hear what you've said until you've said it 4 or 5 times. And so, for those of you who might be thinking, yep, I heard you say it, this message is delivered to those who didn't hear me say it. Ladies and gentlemen, there's not another community in the state of New Jersey who can stand and say, for 4 straight years, we have not had a tax increase for local purposes, and yet we haven't cut services, we've improved them. We haven't cut employees, we've added them. I spoke about all of these things in the last edition of Vernon Vibes in relationship to the budget that was presented for adoption at the last meeting. And later in the show, I'm going to have with us Elka Yetter, the CFO of Vernon Township, who will be talking to you about some of the specifics of that budget, which will be before the council at the first meeting in April. My memory serves me right. That is April the 13th. It's the second Monday in April, and the budget will be up for adoption at that point in time. And I wanted to be sure that all of you knew and understood. So we'll be back in just a minute, and we'll be talking with Elka Yetter.
Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Hardware, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Welcome back. Oftentimes when we're together, you've heard me refer to our CFO, Elke Yetter, and it's my honor to introduce her to you. Elke, thanks for coming in this morning. I really appreciate you being here with us. Elke's not experienced in sitting before the camera, but I'll tell you what she is experienced in. She's one of the finest financial officers I've ever come across. And those of you who know me know that I sat as a freeholder, that I've owned corporations, I've sat on boards of directors of the Warwick Valley Telephone Company, the Wallkill General Hospital. I've done all those things in my life and dealt with a lot of financial people. This young lady sitting to my left, in my personal opinion, is the best. And I know that while I'm saying that to you, she's probably sitting there saying, Vic, why are you doing that? Because it happens to be true. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
I certainly don't mean to embarrass you, but they've heard me speak about you enough times on my show that I thought it was time for you to be with us. And the fact of the matter is that we have introduced the budget, and at the next meeting, as I mentioned in the last segment, we will be adopting the budget, or at least voting on whether it'll be adopted. We're kind of optimistic, but we certainly don't want to presuppose anything. So I've asked Elke to come in this morning and have a chat with us about the process that she and the rest of the people that actually did all of the minutiae and all of the legwork and all of the research and all of the analysis that goes into creating a $22.5 million budget in Vernon Township that allows us to do what we do without raising your taxes. So Elke, if you would, please.
Sure.
The floor is yours.
Thank you for having me here today. I'd like to just go over the process. The budget is a collaborative effort between the department heads, the finance committee, and the town council. So back in the fall, months and months ago, we decided that's when we start our process. We come up with a worksheet for each department head that lists the last 4 years of what they've spent in their departments, and they have a column where they fill out what they're requesting. Once they're done with that, they give that to the finance committee, which is both the mayor, myself, and our business administrator, Bill Zuckerman. We sit down with each department head individually, and then we discuss their needs, then their wants, and then their capital needs. We take that information all back together, and then we put it in one big budget, see where we're at, and then that's when the chopping goes. That's when the scissors. Begins, right? That's when the scissors come out, and we decide what is really needs of the department versus what are needs of the taxpayers, because we have to balance what departments need and what are services that we're actually giving out to the community. So once we have all of those numbers together, then we present our draft budget, this is my Bible, my draft budget for the next couple months. We give that to the council, and then we have department head meetings with the council and work sessions. That's their opportunity to ask questions of the department heads. That's their opportunity to make suggestions, offer ideas of their own that they may want to put in. Like this year, we had the volunteer emergency services clothing allowance that they wanted to add to the budget, which was not in our original draft budget. So those are the types of things that we go over with the council. Once they've put their information in, then the finance committee meets again to come up with the final numbers that we produce our state document. The state document is due needs to be introduced by March 13th for this year. Every year it changes a little based on when the state sends their state aid information, and then that information is to be introduced by March 13th, and then you have 28 days where you need to adopt, at least 28 days. You have to wait. And that's basically the process. But what is, some of you may be wondering, is what is our philosophy behind our budget? So I put a few notes what our objectives are. We basically have long-term goals in mind. We are looking in the future as far as in terms of debt and in terms of capital needs. We are conservative in our revenues. We don't want to overestimate our revenues, knowing that they may not come in and then we're taking away from our fund balance. We want to make sure in our appropriations that we know there's enough to cover the needs of the department, and that the department heads are very good in their spending. They watch what they spend, and they don't have the philosophy of use it or lose it. They feel that they use what they need, and then whatever's left over ends up going back to fund balance. So they are very good in managing their budgets in each department. And we look at the appropriation reserves, which is the money that was not spent from the prior year, looking to put money into snow removal trust or compensated absences to make sure that we have money for people retiring or when we have the numerous snowstorms that we had this year. I used to love snow before I started this job, and I loved snow days when I was home with my kids, and now that I work here, I hate snow days, so I will admit that on TV.
we certainly were challenged this year, but we came through.
Yes, we did.
We came through, and that certainly is a tip of the hat to all concerned.
Right, and that's pretty much what I need to
Could
say.
you maybe take just a few minutes to explain, and you touched on it, how did we come from 2011 with a $900,000 cash fund surplus or cash fund balance to over $3 million without raising the budget? How did that happen? I've had people say to me, well, you got to be borrowing money to do that. Have we done any of that?
No, we haven't. It's just we've been able to watch what we appropriate and not spend it when we don't need to. Therefore, money was able to lapse into fund balance, which is what happens with your appropriation reserves after the second year it lapses. Our revenues, there were areas where we picked up, building department, for example. Now that they do all the inspections for resale, they see things that may not have been picked up in the past, which brings in some more revenue. There's different areas.
Shared service was another one.
Shared service was another area.
Yes.
And the grants have always helped us being able to do services that we wouldn't have been able to do without that money and not costing the taxpayers anything.
I know that my listeners and viewers know that we use a certain proportion of that fund balance to apply against the tax to keep their taxes down. Mm-hmm. Talk for a second about the limits, if you will, that DCA places, or maybe not in terms of formally, but certainly in terms of the communications as to how much we should have in fund balance. Our auditors, how much will they approve for us to use in fund balance before they question it, and what the philosophy behind that is?
Okay, so the philosophy is to keep 10% of your fund balance, of your total year's budget in fund balance. This way, unforeseen, you have that money available. The idea is when you're doing your budget to be able to regenerate that. So that's what the auditors look at when you're coming up with a budget, to make sure that you're going to be able to put that money back in and have at the end of the year 10% of your total budget in fund balance.
And we've done that.
We have.
Well, I want to thank you for coming this evening and talking with the people. You have an opportunity to meet face to face with one of the people that has been very influential in crafting not only the yearly budgets, but you heard Elka speak to the fact that we're doing long-term planning. At the present time, our goal is to pay off twice as much money as we may borrow in a given year. What I'm talking about is a lot of projects that need to be done under capital, where the township would go and use the bond anticipation note route to raise money. If we borrow $1 million in a year, we're going to pay off $2 million. And that way, by the time that the bands are completely paid over a period of 20 years, we will have a situation where Vernon Township is in very good shape and virtually free of permanent debt. That's my goal as your mayor, and thank goodness Elka shares it with me.
It's my goal.
And keeps my feet to the fire on it, I must say. We also have done the same thing with roads and secondary and tertiary streets. And that being the case again, we have a plan in which every 6 years we will have had the opportunity to address those kinds of problems, and the money is available to do it. Elka, I want to thank you for helping us do it. I couldn't be happier or prouder to be associated with you. Nice job.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a second.
Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Hardware, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Welcome back. I thank Elka for being with us, and I hope that you found her comments informative. I want to take just a couple of minutes to touch on some of the things that happened last evening at the town council meeting. And I want to point out to you that while the paper reported that I wasn't there, that actually was erroneous. I was at the council meeting up until the point in time that the business that needed my attention was over, and then I left. And I want to take just a minute to explain to you that in this form of government, and I've said it before, the mayor is not a member of the council. The mayor is the chief executive officer, and while I am welcome to be there in terms of the statutes, and while the statutes provide for my participation in conversations that the council has, I don't have a vote. And to be frank with you, the amount of things that I've been involved in over the years, we have now an experienced council, and the leadership role that I took initially is no longer necessary. Mr. Rizzuto, the president of the council, runs an excellent meeting, and the business of the township is getting done in a very professional manner. And so I was there for the things that I'm going to talk to you about. That's the point of this. First and foremost, on the agenda last evening was an item of auction. And Vernon Township advertised an excess asset auction for about 40% of the main water lines that were laid in the town center along the sewer lines when it was built back in 2006, 2007. Those water lines have laid dormant in the ground, and frankly, part of the reason that we haven't seen any success up until now in the town center in attracting new buildings and new businesses is that commercial buildings, even though we offered them sewer, needed central water also. And so last evening, via the public mechanism of bid, the United Water Company was the bidder, the successful bidder, and bought 40% of the water lines that had been laid in the Vernon Town Center for $151,000. That $151,000 goes directly back to Vernon Township and will in fact go to that cash fund surplus balance that Elka and I were talking about in the last segment. But more importantly, what it means is that the new CVS project that I've told you about on the corner of Route 94 and Main Street will go forward, and there will be a groundbreaking there in the very near future. I'm sure as soon as Mother Nature and Old Man Winter decide to give us a break, you will see the construction begin on a brand new CVS facility on the corner of Main Street and Route 94, a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week facility that will be open. And that project, by the way, will be somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million that the CVS Corporation is investing in Vernon Township. So last evening, the sale of those the water lines, after the auction was over and the bidding was done, the council had to, in fact, vote to accept the bid. I don't know what his reasons are, but Councilman Kadish voted not to do it. I think you need to know that. Councilman Kadish, for whatever his reasons are, and he wouldn't tell us publicly, voted not to allow the water to be brought to the town center, because that's what that vote represented. And I think you, as people that live in Vernon, ought to be asking him, what in the world is he thinking? Secondly, we recognized Norwestcap last evening, their 50th anniversary, and those of you who have received those services in the county know just how very important they are. And so the Vernon Council and this mayor chose to recognize their anniversary with a proclamation. Thirdly, the council approved the resolution to, in fact, award the bids to replace 2 of the chassis of the 7 ambulances that we own in Vernon Township with new chassis. Instead of going out and buying brand new ambulances that run somewhere from the $150,000 to $200,000, we're going to be putting new chassis under the box that exist, and we will have actually 3 of the 7 ambulances in Vernon Township with brand new power under them. That's basically the things that we covered. There were some ordinances and the like that we'll be talking about in the future, but I wanted you to know about that, and so I will be back in just a minute.
Hi, I'm Terry Naturally. Got pain? Are your muscles aching and crying out for relief? Would you like a safe product without side effects to stop your pain? Curamin is your answer. Curamin is an award-winning formula that relieves pain safely and naturally. Live pain-free and enjoy doing the things you love. Feel the amazing difference with Curamin and make each day a pain-free day. It'll stop your pain or your money back.
Available locally at Healthy Times Market in Vernon. The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Hardware, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Welcome back. The last item I want to talk to you about is a resolution that was adopted by the council last evening requiring or requesting, if you will, the Sussex County Freeholder Board, in fact, to have a complete and thorough independent investigation of what led to the solar panel debacle. I have not been involved in that action. It was an action of the council, but I am in receipt of a letter sent to me as the mayor and the council from Freeholder Director Phil Crabb asking whether or not we would have him come and explain to Vernon Township officials actually what happened and why the Freeholder Board took the steps that they took. And I want to thank you very much, Mr. Crabb, for doing that. But rather than have you come and talk to me or the council in private, I'm extending an invitation to you publicly to come to Vernon Township, and I will cede to you my entire Vernon Vibes time for you to explain it to the people of Sussex County. I hope that you'll take me up on my invitation. Thank you. Have a great evening. I'll look forward to seeing you all on the next edition of Vernon Vibes.
Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Hardware, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Hi, I'm Shannon Sweeney. I've been a player or coach for most of my life, and I understand the need to keep our kids motivated and safe. As a parent and coach, I also understand the need to make sure our children are protected. That's why insurance is as an important part of the game as a good coach is. I've known my fellow coach, Wayne Dietz, for 10 years. I've seen him motivate and inspire players both on and off the floor. I've also seen him make sure that our children are safe by making sure that the teams are properly insured. As a coach, we don't often think about insurance, and when you work with Wayne and his team at D&H Risk Solutions, you won't have to. They take care of everything with honesty and integrity so that you can focus on what you do best, coaching your team to victory.